So now our next topic is balanced method of solving algebraic equations. So as I explained earlier, balanced method is based on the principle that equals added to equals or equals multiplied by equals are still equals. So if we have an equation, it means that we have an algebraic expression on the left hand side and a number or any other algebraic expression on the right hand side. And these two expressions, the left hand side and the right hand side, both have the same value, same numeric value. If we put the value of unknown on the left hand side, we will get the right hand side if there is only a number on the right hand side. And if we have values of unknowns on both sides and we put the values of unknown, still the left hand side will be equal to right hand side and the equation will always be true. So this is a basic assumption that equation is true and equation should stay true. We should not be doing anything which makes this equation false. Balanced method says that whatever mathematical operation, plus minus, multiplication or division, you perform on the left hand side, here on left hand side, must be done on the right hand side. So this will be clear if I take an example. Let's start from the previous example. We have already taken this. 5x plus 2 equals 12. So we know that this equation is true for x equals 2 because I made this question. If I do not perform the same operation, what will happen? So this is what I'm going to explain. So I put x equals 2, so I get 5 into 2 plus 2, which is 10 plus 2, which equals 12, which is the same as right hand side. But if I add something on the left hand side, if I write this equation like this, 5x plus 2 minus 3, and I don't do anything on the right hand side, then this equation will be 10 plus 2 minus 3 when I put x equals 2, which is 12 minus 3, which is 9, and 9 is not equal to 12. It means the equation have become false. So we don't want to do this. The equation was true and we should keep it true. So it means that this minus 3 we should also subtract on the right hand side, or we add minus 3 on the right hand side. We say we subtract 3 or we add minus 3. So if we add minus 3 on the right hand side, then it will also become 9, and then the equation will be 9 equals 9. So similarly, this is not only for addition or subtraction. If we multiply, we have to multiply. So if it's so easy, then what's the point of learning this balanced method? Well, the skill lies in the fact that what operation you should do first in order to solve the equation. So what operation you should do first? Because if you do not do the appropriate operation at a particular stage of a question, you will be going away from the solution. You will not be going towards the solution. And this I will explain in one of the examples, that how can you go away from the solution. So the skill of using this balanced method when solving algebraic equation is that what particular mathematical operation should I perform at this stage on one side, and then I will do the same on the other side. That is not a problem. But what operation should I perform on the left hand side now in order to reach the solution? So now what are the tips for using this method of solution? And the first thing is, okay, so these are the tips. So these are not a must do thing. These are just some helpful tips. You can do it without using these tips. But for a beginner, this will make your life easy when solving algebraic equations. So the first tip is try to keep all those terms which involve unknown to the left hand side. So this is the first trick. Try to keep terms having unknown on left hand side. Number 2, try to isolate the terms having unknown. Why try to isolate the unknown? Because ultimately what we need is x equals something. So for example, x is our unknown. So ultimately our goal is to find x equals something. We don't want anything to be multiplied by x. So therefore we have to isolate x. So try to keep the terms having unknown on the left hand side. Why on the left hand side? Because normally we go from left to right. We read English from left to right. We solve operations from left to right. So it's easy to keep all the terms x so that we can reach x equals something. Otherwise we will reach like this, 5 equals x. Then x will be on the right hand side if we keep all terms on the right hand side. So you can keep terms on either of the sides, x, all the x terms on left hand side or the right hand side. If x is your unknown or if y is your unknown, you can keep all y terms on the left hand side or all y terms on the right hand side, and all numbers without these x or y, whatever is your unknown variable, on the other side. But the best approach is to keep the variable terms on the left hand side and the numbers on the right hand side, because using examples makes it easy for students to understand. Let's take one example. 5x equals 15. And another example, 5x minus 3 equals 12. And another one, x minus 2 multiplied by 5 equals 5. So I'm taking these examples side by side so that I could explain few of the things which I want to explain here. Keeping in mind the first thing that all the x terms should be on the left hand side. So this is only one term. So this is the most simplest case. And normally this is the last stage of our solving the question. When we have solved the question, at the very last stage we end up something like this. So 5x equals 15. Now we want to get rid of this 5 because we want to isolate x. So the best way to do is, now we know that what operation we should do? Division. We should divide this by 5. So 5x divided by 5. And in order to balance this, we divide on the second side 15 divided by 5. Now you can cancel this 5 with this 5, and this 5 goes 3 times. So we get x equals 3. This is our solution. Very simple, because it was a very simple example. The second example, so what we should do here? Should we remove this term minus 3 or should we remove this 5? What we should remove first? So when there are two terms, now these are two terms. One has x, one does not have a x. So when there are two terms, so you want to get rid of the second term which does not have x. So in order to get rid of minus 3, what we do? 5x minus 3, we add plus 3 to remove this term. And this plus 3 should be added on the other side. So here we get 5x, because 3 minus 3 is 0, or minus 3 plus 3 is 0. On the right hand side we get 15. So now we remove this 5 as we have done in the last example. So x equals 3, just like this. So now what about this third case? Should we perform this 5 division first or this addition first? How should we proceed in this example? So well, for the beginners in this case, there are two methods doing this, but first I will explain the beginner's method. So if there is a bracket, this is a bracket, opening here and closing here, so this forms a group. So when there is a bracket, the easiest approach is, this is the first method which is the easiest approach. If there is one bracket or if there are two brackets, open the brackets. Open the brackets first. Open the brackets. or parenthesis, whatever. So if I open the brackets, I get 5x minus 10 equals 5. We are not doing anything on the left hand side extra. We're just opening the bracket using the distributive property of numbers. Remember, a into b plus c was ab plus ac. You multiply this with this, plus you multiply this with this. So we are doing the same thing. Now we have two terms. Now it is like this question. If you compare this with this, very similar. So we remove this term by adding plus 10. 5x minus 10 plus 10, and we do the same plus 10 on the other side. So this will be removed. 5x equals 15. Now this is just like this question. So now what we do? Divide by 5. And divided by 5 on the other side. X equals 3 is the answer. So this is the easiest method. If you have a group, if you have a parenthesis, just open the parenthesis and solve it. But there is another method which I would also want to highlight, another fact, which is that if you look at here 5, I rewrite the third part again here. And if you look here, it's only one term. There are not two terms. Because of this grouping symbol, this is one term. So this can be treated just like this. Here x was being multiplied by something. Here a group containing x. This is x minus 2 is a group. So x minus 2 is a group containing x is multiplied by 5. And there is only one term. So here we can also divide first. We can also first divide. This is the thing you should be learning, that what operation should I do here first. So you can also divide first because it's only one term. So it can be considered a case like first case. So we can divide by 5 on both sides and we will get 5 x minus 2 divided by 5 equals 5 divided by 5. And you can cancel this out, and x minus 2 equals 1. Remember, when they cancel out, 1 is remaining, not 0. So now we have two terms, so we can remove this 2 by adding 2 on the left hand side and adding 2 on the right hand side. So x on the left hand side and 3 on the right hand side. So if there is only one term, you can divide as well. Another example, x divided by 3 plus x equals 20. So what should we do here? So our first tip was try to keep all terms having x on the left hand side and all numbers on the right hand side. So if you don't follow this tip and you proceed like we did in the second part of the previous examples where there was a second term, I first do the wrong way. So this is the wrong way of doing this. For example, you decided to remove this term first. So you can remove this term by minus x. So x plus 3, x divided by 3 plus x. If you want to remove this, you just add minus x. You can remove this term. And you have to do the same on the other side. So you get 20 minus x. So the term is removed from the left hand side and you are left with x divided by 3 equals 20 minus x. So what happened now? You have removed the x term, one of the terms on the left hand side, but the term has moved to the right hand side with an opposite sign. So you have gone away from the solution instead of going closer to the solution. because you just looked at the second term and you try to remove this. But you forgot that all the x terms should be kept on the left hand side and all the numbers should be gone on the right hand side. So this is a term which has x. So we don't have to move this to the other side. Otherwise, it will be a problem for us. Now we have gone away from the solution. We have to remove this from this side. And if you remove this, it will come again on this side. So we have to put all x terms together and all numbers together. So what we have to do, all x terms together and then all numbers together. So this is our first tip. So now what we do here, I just come from here again. So what I can do in this is I can take x common from these two terms. So what will be left inside? 1 divided by 3 plus 1. And if you don't know how to take common, you can watch that lecture again. Taking common, there is a lecture, video lecture, you can watch that because you will be taking common again and again. So 1 divided by 3 plus 1 and on the right side is 20. So taking common does not change anything. If you use the distributive property, you can multiply these two and you will reach there, x divided by 3. Then you multiply 1 with x and you will become here. So we are not changing anything. So now x is common. Just solve the fraction inside. 1 divided by 3 plus 1. And if you don't know how to solve this fraction, then you watch that video, addition of fractions. And I will just solve this here. So x. So I will take the denominator 3. So 1 plus 3 equals 20. X multiplied by 4 divided by 3 equals 20. And now we have one term on the left hand side which has x and one number on the right hand side. So now what we can do is we want to get rid of this 4 by 3. So the easiest way is to multiply this with 3 by 4 so that all cancels out. But to balance this, we have to multiply 3 by 4 on the right hand side. Now you can cancel this out. 4 with 4, 3 with 3, and this 4 goes 5 times. So on the left hand side, we have only x. X equals 5 multiplied by 3 is 15. So this is our answer. So in this example, what you learned is that if there are two terms and both have x, then you don't get rid of the second term because you want all x terms on the left hand side and all numbers on the right hand side. And then in the last step, you want to isolate x. When you want to combine all x terms, you had to take the common. Taking common. So this is your thinking process. How I can take all x terms on the left hand side? How can I take common? How can I combine numbers? How can I simplify fractions? So all these will be coming again and again when you will be solving algebraic equation. It is important that you do all the homework and you do all the quiz questions. And if you feel any difficulty in solving fractions or anything else, you must watch the video in pre-algebra section of this course. That will give you a confidence in solving fractions and the concept of reciprocals, because here what we are doing is we are multiplying the reciprocal of 4 by 3 in order to eliminate 4 by 3 from x. So these type of things, if you find any difficulty, you go back, watch that video. All homework you should do for solving equation, because solving equation is the major part of the algebra. And in practical life, you have to formulate the problem and then solve the problem. So I will put the solution to the homework in resources, and also I will try to make a video about the quiz questions, and this video will be uploaded after the course later sometime. There are different types of equations which we will be dealing, and we will be practicing a lot about solving equations. So make sure that you practice all homework and do all the quizzes. If you find any difficulty, you can contact, and if you have any question, you can ask, and I will be happy to answer your questions.